What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Lion's Den. My name is Jack, and today, joining me, as per sometimes usual, my good brother, fellow content creator, Jessetiv. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Doing fantastic. And today, we are going to be talking about the recent Destiny 2 expansion, Curse of Osiris, all of its details, and we're going to lump in the current dawning event going on as well. You know, just kill all the birds with one stone, hopefully. And straight out the gate, $20 DLC. We got a full DLC campaign, new strikes, a new raid expansion, and then we got a bunch of new changes to the sandbox and PvP balance. And then we of course got the Dawning event, which is the Christmas event for the year to talk about as well. So that's kind of going to be what we're going over. And to start things off, I guess we'll start with the story of Curse of Osiris, which I have to say, as far as that Destiny 2 has always kind of struggled with a compelling story, the actual storylines involved in this I thought were really cool. What were your thoughts, Jess?
I also thought it was cool. It was the only problem I had with it was that it was fairly short. I did feel like the characters were fairly well fleshed out, though, and I enjoyed going through the time travel type thing with Osiris. Seeing Osiris the first time was all pretty exciting.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Obviously, Osiris is such a big and relevant part of Destiny as a story, and finally getting to see him, talk with him and experience his personality firsthand was really interesting. I thought the voice actor for Osiris killed it. So did his ghost, Sagira. Fun fact. And I might be wrong on this, but someone told me that is the actress who played Ryan Reynolds' girlfriend in Deadpool. Played Sagira. She's awesome. Love her.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm down with that.
Yeah, she killed it as Sagira, and obviously we got to see more of Ikora Rey, and we actually get Ikora fleshed out as a character finally. She's always seemed so dull, and then once we got into Destiny 2 and then the vanilla campaign, we started to see more character out of her. And this is kind of a continuation of that. She's a big part of this campaign, and you really kind of empathize and get to experience more of her personality for once, which was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I could do without the whole Vanguard minus Kate 6. I just think most of the characters are boring there, and now it's just been shoehorned where they have to be in everything because from the beginning of the game they are the Vanguard, right? So you have to keep tying them back in, which is just a huge story constraint that you have to tie the Vanguard into everything.
Well, the Vanguard operate the tower, though. They're going to be involved in some way. And
yeah,
she's
obviously... I know,
she's,
that's why I'm saying that's a huge story constraint, because you have to involve the Vanguard in every story.
At least in this case, I think I'll disagree with you on that, because she is she's Osiris' best student. She'd be intimately involved in this story, regardless of being the Vanguard commander.
Yeah, but Saint 14 was also a huge Osiris follower, so why don't we follow Saint 14?
Well, we'll get.
I thought that would have been more interesting to me, was to see Saint 14 and Osiris, two new characters we've never seen before. I thought that would have been cool, but it is what it is. Curse of Meme Cyrus is just a little short for me personally. I wish I could have seen a couple more missions in there. That'd have been nice.
Yeah, but I think for what we got, it was definitely short, but each mission was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was solid for a $20 DLC. I wasn't expecting much, so
yeah.
To have a decent story with a new character and to have somebody who's so mythic in the lore, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and I think kind of going past that, Mercury as a social space is interesting. It's definitely small, but for what it is, it's a really good looking social space, and the new public event there is really fun. And obviously getting to go to the lighthouse and see Brother Vance, all that stuff is really cool. And there's a lot of, I really like that they tried to add a lot to do after the campaign in this expansion, and I think they succeeded in that for people who aren't the people who grind 12 hours straight, just finish everything in 2 weeks. This was the Forge and a lot of the Easter eggs and just grinding for the Forge weapons. All that stuff took quite a lot of time. And I think it was rewarding. The weapons are cool, they look cool, some of them are actually pretty good. So I think the inclusion of having this checklist of stuff to grind for, where you know what you're gonna get, you just have to get there. And then that reveal at the very end, once you get all the Forge weapons, which, spoiler, if you don't want to know this, click off now, you get a ghost skin that is Sagira, which looks dope. that's a really cool reward for taking the time to grind out the hours to get all the materials for all the forge weapons. And I thought that was a really enjoyable part of the expansion, even though the grind was pretty ridiculous if you really wanted to get it done as fast as possible.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about for a quick second where we both stand on the game, just so we can kind of move forward here. Like me personally, I only played the Crystal Osiris campaign and PvP, and then I stopped playing because I wasn't very interested, whereas you're still currently playing to this day.
Yeah, I've played it all. I did all the forged weapons. I raid weekly. I play Crucible quite a bit. Maybe I'm an outlier here. I do still quite enjoy playing Destiny 2 in its current state. I think the PvP in terms of balance has come a good ways, and there's not so much. There's still the only big problem. Well, there's still like two big problems with PvP. One is the balance of the power weapons, and two, because they nerfed Mida and a lot of the Bear Devils is just kind of taking over basically. Like
on PC, I don't think it hasn't taken over on console.
Yes,
I'm playing on both platforms. I've moved away from PlayStation. I haven't played Crystal Osiris on PlayStation. I play on PC, and I'm here to only play Crucible. That's the only thing I care about in Destiny personally. So right now the meta is not great for me. So that's the reason I'm not playing Destiny. I don't really have a huge problem with the DLC or the choices that have been made, especially with the what's the vendor who sells the microtransactions? I don't really have a huge problem with Eververse. I know that it's a big controversy thing right now, but I would have paid $20 for that DLC either way because I thought the story was good and the PvP is what I play the game for.
Yeah, and definitely the PvP is in a weird place, but I think it's to say that there's no progress being made, I think would be wrong. I think there's definite good progress being made, and we're only going to see more improvements going forward with how the community's been so vocal in a lot of right ways and just as many wrong ways too, but Bungie is taking a lot of the right feedback here and making positive changes forward. I thought that kind of doing the event, the release of the DLC in 2 chunks was really smart because you got to release one big chunk of content, get the bugs across that week, fix it, and then release the other chunk the next week and be able to monitor the bugs for like 2 specific chunks of the same big DLC, which I thought was a really smart move in terms of the delivering of this update. Obviously, when the DLC launched, we had the issues with Prometheus Lens being absolutely broken in Crucible, and that was remedied very fast, an incredibly fast turnaround for Bungie, speaking specifically on this bug with the Prometheus Lens, and it was fixed in a week. We got the other bulk of the content with the masterwork weapons. The new vendor changes are actually really nice. Now you can buy the armor sets directly. I think that's really good incentive for farming coins now if you don't already have the requisite engrams to purchase the armor sets. And yeah, I guess Eververse is a big discussion going on right now, and I'm not entirely sure where I stand on it, so I think I'm just going to leave Eververse at kind of like a no comment.
Well, let's go back to what you said earlier because you're burning through a lot of topics here.
Yeah.
I want to comment specifically on Prometheus Lens. Shipping with a bug is a huge problem. Guns should not ever be shipped with a bug, especially when you had 3 months to work on the DLC. But it's going to happen. And to me, unfortunately, as broken as Prometheus Lens was, that was the most fun I had in the Crucible since launch, which is, not a great thing since it's a bug. It's not meant to be in the game, something that kills that fast. So the changes that I want in PvP, I just don't think they're coming anytime soon, even though progress is being made, like you said. And I don't doubt that they're not listening, but the changes in Crucible that need to be done for that game to feel more like Destiny 1, which I know is a big argument in the community, that the people who haven't really played much Destiny 1 say it should be separate, whereas all the people who came from Destiny 1 and had that game give life for 3 years when it had no content for a year and a half want to see Destiny 1. In Destiny 2, you want to see similar kill times at the very least. So that kind of progress I don't see being made in a efficient manner. I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So that's one of the things that keeps me from Destiny 2, and that's one of the things I wanted to see in Crystal Osiris, was at least some kind of TTK lowering of some sort, even if it's barely like 1 shot or 30 damage less that it takes to kill somebody. Anything to make the TTK slower.
Right.
Or faster, sorry.
See, this is the thing, is that I don't know, because I found myself directly in the middle where I played a good bit of Destiny 1, but not enough to be as attached to it as you are. And my exposure to Destiny 2 right now is I actually kind of like the Crucible. There are definitely problems with it, but I do enjoy playing it. And I think the reason that it's so slow, at least from your perspective, is I think that the solution is going to be somewhere in between. We're going to have to find a middle ground between what Destiny 2 is right now and what Destiny 1 was to find a good Crucible balance. I don't think the way Destiny 2 sandbox is set up, I don't think the weapons would work with Destiny 1 TTKs. I think there'd be a lot of things that would be quite legitimately considered broken. So I think we have to find a way to shift towards Destiny 1, but also maintain a good amount of balance for the people who do like where the Crucible is at right now. So that way, you don't want to alienate anybody, is what I'm trying to get at. So I think it's going to be complicated, and I think the feedback is definitely going to be key throughout all of this, and it's just going to be something we're going to have to work on. I mean, Destiny 2, relatively speaking, is still really new. So there's so much time left for it to improve.
Well, we'll get off PvP here in a second, but I do have one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
I think the other problem with the game is the playlists. Having 4v4 only is a big problem. I think also making snipers and shotguns power weapons was a huge mistake. And the fact that the game is so slow is because you have primaries only, and the only way to kill fast is to stand in a group, right? So one of those things has to change at the very minimum, or more than one of those things has to change. You either need to make sniper shotguns in a secondary slot, or the TTK slower, or make it 6v6 instead of 4v4, because right now the only way to play the game effectively is to group up with your team, which is a very boring, slow playstyle. So those are my main problems with the game, but I don't see many people talking about those things specifically.
Right. Okay, and then I mean, just for the sake of argument, the effective TTK right now in Crucible is about a second. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's super slow, but it makes the game slow because the way that you are intended to play the game right now is to group up and play with a team and team shot, and that's the fastest way to get a fast TTK is to have 4 people shooting at one guy. Right. So basically playing solo in PvP right now is pretty rough, and then not to mention the fact that there's nothing that you can do to pick off people at a distance, which is why the mid-range guns were so dominant at launch and still are fairly dominant.
Yep. Hopefully, I think what I would like to see as far as like the playlist availability is I don't see why we can't have like a 4 section, a 5 section even, and then a 6s. Like you should be able to choose the player counts, and then also this is a long time coming. We need to be able to select individual game modes because like I love
you could select individual game modes in Destiny 1. We don't have it in Destiny 2. Like what do you mean? Why would we dumb the game down like that? I don't understand.
It seems the biggest error with Destiny 2 was that they tried to oversimplify it. I think in the process they lost a lot of the things that made Destiny 1 very fun for the people who did enjoy the complexities. And I understand the argument that they have to try and reach to a broader audience and all that other like Activision fueled BS, but at the same time, the core people are the Crucible guys. And those are the guys who are going to keep player counts high all the time. They're going to play trials every weekend. They're going to be involved in every aspect of keeping the player count alive. They're going to be your streamers, your YouTubers, the pro events from custom games. Like all that stuff comes from a very good and very open Crucible. So hopefully what we see in 2018 is that we get individual playlists, we get player count options, we get custom games back. These are all, at least custom games specifically, they have talked about, as well as they're going to be bringing like ranked competitive, which I'm not sure if ranked competitive will even be viable with the current state of balance. I think ranked competitive would work much better in a 5s scenario because 4, like you said, I think it's
even
just
3s.
Too clustered, or 3s. That's There's a lot of options they can go with, but I think what we do see right now is that just 4s and just 2 playlists is not enough.
Now, to tie it back into Crystal Osiris real quick, the things that I wanted to see in the DLC were mainly PvP things, and I knew I wasn't going to get those. So when I bought the DLC, I knew that I wasn't going to get the PvP balance that I want. Did I still buy the DLC? Yeah, I did. I actually still enjoyed the DLC, even though it didn't have what I wanted to have in the game. So I think the people who are complaining about Curse of Osiris are kind of taking their hate for things that they didn't like in the base game and pushing it on to a $20 DLC that came out 3 months after the game. Like, you're not going to get those things in the first DLC, especially since it's just a $20 DLC and it's not going to have what you want for that was missing from the base game.
Yep. And obviously there were a lot of small controversies with Curse of Osiris, like the locking out of certain end game activities for people, which was remedied very fast. And
now, wait, real quick. They
ahead.
did that in Destiny 1. In all DLCs, they did that in Destiny 1.
Right.
So
Right, but
to
they
say
locked
that
off
they to
base
say
game
that they
content.
knitted, they locked off base game content in Destiny 1 too.
Did they?
Like they raised up the level in Dark Below to like 30, and then you couldn't do the Nightfall because you were level 20.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know that.
So they did this in Destiny 1, and everybody forgot for some reason. And
Right.
and Bungie even came out and said like, "Hey man, we've been doing this. Like, what's the problem now?" You know.
Yeah.
So,
I actually think
do
that
I
the
have a huge
solution-
problem with it? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, that's just a legacy
Right.
thing that they've been doing.
I think the solution they came up with, though, I think is a good remedy, where they're going to create a next tier up that's going to be for DLC light levels. So you have like Prestige is going to be base level, except for Nightfall. Prestige Nightfall is going to scale with DLCs, and then all other Prestige activities like the Leviathan Raid and all that are all going to be base game level, which I think is a good solution, because once we get the new level for the increasing light level, then it's obviously going to satisfy the big chunk of the dedicated community who obviously bought the DLC.
Yeah.
I think other than that, I mean,
What do you think about the raid layer?
I thought, okay, so I did
didn't
play the raid layer.
I have not.
Eater of Worlds was a very interesting, for it being a very short raid, it was a very fun and very unique raid. Obviously, I can't really talk no spoilers about it, so if you haven't played the raid yet, and you're going to, but you don't want to be spoiled as to what happens, I strongly suggest you click away now. The actual boss encounter, and even the encounter before that where you have to unlock the boss, is actually very unique, and it's very fast-paced for a raid, much compared to the base game Leviathan Raid, which is kind of very static, very slow. You do this, then move on to the next thing. This raid layer felt a lot like, from what I understand, Vault of Glass and Atheon felt like very fast, very mobile. You're going around, you're doing things constantly, and you really need very effective teamwork. And I LFG'd all of my raid runs in Eater of Worlds, and each time it was a lot of fun, honestly. The boss fight is very interesting, has a lot of cool mechanics. It's, once you get the hang of it, it's like all other raids, it can become very easy, very fast. But I remember I did it the first day it came out. I wasn't anywhere near World's First, I was 8 hours late, but it was really fun trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's the best part about raids. Me personally, I didn't participate in the raids in Destiny 1 because I literally only wanted to play Crucible, which I actually do regret a little bit, but at the same time, I'd rather do raids with, a full fire team than LFGing, so that's why I still don't raid. But I do hear that it's pretty great, and I think the whole idea of raid layers was really smart.
Yeah, and obviously, again, we're going to come back to a controversy and then a proposed solution by Bungie here. They've already come out and said they're going to be diversifying and redoing raid loot for endgame activities. So we're going to get a retooling of all raid loot rewards, which is going to be nice because Eater Worlds is fun, but you don't really get anything from it. And that's obviously an issue because it could take an hour or more to do it because you got to go through all the stages and you don't get much. So once the Prestige version launches of the raid layer, we're hopefully going to get that rework of raid loot, which is going to, a lot of these changes are coming in early January, which will be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the game right now to me feels a little too rewarding at times. So, not having new raid loot is definitely a problem because it's a new raid. But at the same time, this game is just like, there's not much grind involved. God rolls are not a thing. Those kind of things made the game worth grinding in Destiny 1 because you could get a special roll and you would do the same strike 100,000 times to get that Grass of Malik, So things like that, I wish were in the game, but I hear what you're saying. That if it's a new raid, it should have new raid items.
Yeah, and I think to kind of jump to the other half of this update, I think we are moving in a better direction, again, for that kind of middle ground between static rolls and RNG from D1 with the Masterworks updates. And I've acquired quite a few Masterwork weapons at this point as I'm making this video. I've had a lot of experience with the crafting, and a lot of the bonuses right now are pretty mild, but they are helpful. And they already come out that they're going to be adding more new and diverse perks to the Masterworks pool. They're just doing this in a soft launch. to kind of gauge feedback right now. And I think, as it is right now, it is actually pretty useful in a lot of weapons. Like, that extra little bit of stability on, like, a better Devils really does make a difference. Same thing with, like, range or handling on a scout rifle. So I think the system's really cool, and they're going to be bringing it over to armor, which I think would be a cool solution for hunters who really struggle with getting, like, the proper amount of, like, recovery on their characters. Masterworks are going to be a good option for boosting recovery, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to move from just stat bonuses to, like, actual perk rolls, which they hinted that they're going to be adding more diverse and more beneficial bonuses, which could be new perks. So who knows?
Yeah, well, the options are there now. So now there's an option for them to slide in perks into that slot instead of just stability or more reload speed or whatever, you know. So I don't have a problem with them kind of soft launching it to see what it's like, and if we like it and stuff, that's cool. And now the option's there, but I would have liked to see just rerollable weapons. There's no reason in the next DLC that you can't roll out a couple of rerollable weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be interesting to see what direction they go, because they actually have a couple avenues now with the Masterworks weapons. It's not like they have to go through the trouble of, like, making an entire rework to the weapons system as a whole to make up for the fact that we've had the same static rolls for the 3 months. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. And I think, kind of leading into that, I think the vendor changes are pretty helpful, because while this game does throw loot at you like nobody's business, for some reason there seems to be like a disparity in the rarity of some things. It feels like armor pieces specifically are much rarer to find than guns. Like, I'm drowning in guns, but I don't have a whole lot of armor sets. So being able to grind for a certain amount of engrams and then go to my favorite vendor and just be able to purchase the armor directly, I think is a really nice option. And again, you know, people are going to argue that it takes away some of the grind, and true, but I think it's the option to grind is still there, but you also have an option if you maybe don't play as much and you want to get this armor set, you can do it. And along with the new armor sets, the ornaments are all actually pretty interesting too. But what are your thoughts on the vendor changes?
I haven't really played enough to have a comment on it. Personally, I think having legendaries that you can just buy is a problem. Personally, that's just my feeling. Personally, I feel like the game is already not grindy enough. Right. So to add things that you can just straight buy, like especially with Xur, you can literally buy an exotic that's a guaranteed exotic that you do not have. That's crazy to me. Whereas in Destiny 1, you could buy a legacy exotic, but it's power level from year 1 and it's random.
Right.
You know, so it's like, what are we doing here exactly? We're just making the game too casual. Personally.
Well, you know, in Bungie's defense, I have been grinding since Christmas Cyrus got out, and I still haven't gone to fitting aspects on my Warlock, so kind of hoping I get a pair out of my Isochrome Engram. But yeah, I do agree, though. I think that the Engram can be beneficial if... What I think they might do, and this is total speculation, keep in mind, that I think they rolled out this Engram because they're going to be stepping back exotic drop rates. We always saw that with public events. And I've noticed, like, since they rolled that update out, you used to get, like, 3 or 4 exotics if you grinded public events for, like, 2 hours. And now I can play...
Especially with the Fire Team Medallion.
Especially with the Fire Team Medallion. And now I can grind public events. I think I grinded, like, I did all of my flash points this week on all 3 characters, and I got, like, 1 exotic from public events. So the exotic engram rate has been significantly dropped, and I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about it. But it is significantly less likely to get exotic engrams now. Maybe if you play for like a 4-hour play session, you might get 1 exotic engram now, which is way different than what it used to be. So I don't know how much that factors in to the changes of Xur, but it does seem like they are dropping the rate at which you acquire exotics.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else to add to this thing? I think we're about wrapped up.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else. I do think that, kind of talking about Eververse for a second.
Okay.
I think that the changes they're making to all of the other vendors and the events are going to lessen the impact of Eververse. They already said that the next Faction Rally and the next Iron Banner both are going to have vendor exclusive ghosts, ships, and sparrows that you get from the same loot sources already. So you grind engrams for Iron Banner, you can get an Iron Banner ship now. So I think that's definitely a step away from everything being at Eververse, which is what everyone's complaining about right now. and I think that is heading in a better direction. I think, honestly, the whole argument that the Dawning is just a microtransaction cash cow, I think that argument is a little bit flawed, because having played the Dawning already, it's like a 4-week event.
You don't have to. You don't have to buy anything.
You can use your Bright Dust. You can just play. You get Dawning engrams all the time.
You don't even have to buy anything. You don't need those. They're just cosmetics. Like a ship's cosmetic, a coast is cosmetic. You don't have to buy anything from Eververse to play the Dawning. You still get all of the things that you want. Everything is cosmetic in Eververse. Do I think it's a bummer that they locked ghosts and especially ships behind Eververse? Yes, I do. But do I care that much? No, not really, because they're literally just cosmetics. You want something, you can get it. You can buy with Bright Dust. You can get it with a Bright Engram. There's options to get it.
Yeah, and I think most of all is that I think people just saw it was all at Eververse and then reacted. You get a daily gift that you can complete and deliver for basically a Dawning engram. All 3 characters, you get 3 gifts a day. It's like a 4-week event. That's, however many gifts per week, right? So that's 21 times 4. That's a lot of engrams. So you're pretty likely to get all of the armor, or at least the stuff you want. And if you don't, they're rotating it weekly throughout the event. Each armor piece and each sparrow and each ghost are going to be sold, and you can just buy them with Bright Dust. There was that Reddit post about some dude who spent like $600 to get all the stuff with the Dawning. That guy is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, come on.
How was that Bungie's fault?
He's very unlucky too.
Yeah, how is that Bungie's fault that guy was an idiot with this fucking money? Yeah, it's a bummer that they put so much shit behind Eververse.
Those fucking clickbait videos from everybody. Yeah. Cost $600 to get everything in the Dawning. No, it doesn't. One guy got very unlucky and is an idiot.
Disclaimer: cost $600 if you're retarded. Sorry, that's the case. You're just bad with your money.
Bro, you had 80 engrams in 4 weeks that you could have gotten shit from, but instead you tried to get it on day 1. That's your fucking problem.
Exactly. And all in all, I think the Dawning's a fun event. I mean, running around with snowballs is actually a lot of fun. I've never had more fun running strikes this week than running a full team with snowballs, and the snowballs do insane damage and just tank hits like nobody's business. This has been a fun event. You get a fire team behind a barricade chucking snowballs at one of those Cabal ships, and it's a fun time. So I think Eververse is definitely
the best game mode to come into the game.
Yeah, Mayhem was a lot of fun, even though it's broken with Warlocks right now, but whatever. It's still fun. It's just Mayhem. If you care about the balance of Mayhem, I think you're taking things a little too seriously. It's supposed to be a mess around, have fun game mode.
Yep.
So I think the Dawning has been a fun event. I really do. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying playing the Dawning.
I personally don't care for the Dawning, but I didn't care for the Dawning in Destiny 1 either. I actually had more fun with the, I think it's called Land of the Lost event or something like that. It's the Halloween event. I like that event a little bit more than Dawning, so I'm excited to see that come next year. That's going to be fun.
And I know people were pissed that we missed the Halloween event and Sparrow Racing League this winter. But you gotta keep in mind, the game came out in, September?
September.
It was a little too late for them to have an event post-launch like that when they had PC launch in October.
People are still grinding through the campaign. PC's
PC
barely
launch
launching.
in October, yeah. It was unrealistic.
Too tight of an event.
Yeah, and I think having the Dawning is good, and I think we're gonna get our faction rallies are coming back. I think in the next couple weeks. Same thing with Iron Banner. It's gonna be interesting to see those.
One more complaint, real quick, and I'm gonna let it go. I'm really bummed that factions is not just a regular thing like it was in Destiny 1. Why can't we just have factions all the time? The best thing about the game was grinding through and leveling up your faction so you can get the cool faction shader, or the cool faction ship, or the cool faction weapon. I'm a little bummed that that's not a thing in Destiny 2.
Right, but I think with the current state of the game as far as gear requirement goes, I think that if the factions were persistent, it would only add to the problem of too much gear.
Yeah, but it was one of the reasons to grind, though.
Yeah, true.
You've taken out the whole reason to grind.
Right, I think if they make loot harder to get, or they add more reasons to grind for loot, then I think it would be more viable to revisit that argument. But I think as it is right now...
Well, I don't think it'll ever come to Destiny 2. I'm just a little bummed that base game didn't bring factions 24/7, so...
True. Alright. I mean, I think that's all my thoughts for the whole Curse of Osiris in the last month of Destiny. I think... Objectively speaking, it's been a productive month for the health of the game. I think there have been a lot of steps either cemented that are going to happen or taken forward. I think there definitely have been setbacks, but there are going to be setbacks with everything. And I think that the game is going to, obviously, I don't think the game's going to die. I think the game will persist, and it's only going to get better. I think 2018 is going to be a fantastic year for Bungie. And even though Bungie's like drowning in hate right now from the community, a lot of it justified. Some of it I think is a little bit out there, but I'm not going to go there. I think the game will improve. The game will survive. And I think, come next year when we do our whatever DLC4, whatever that's going to be at the end of the year review, we'll be like, yeah, Destiny2 is in a really great state right now. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I will also say one more thing. The next DLC that's coming, I think it's called like God Mars or something like that. It's going to be like March or something. I would tone down your expectations for that. It's unlikely that a lot of the things are going to be fixed there. I think the most likely spot that a lot of things are going to change is going to be September next year. So that's what we're kind of waiting for. That's the big time. If the game's not in a decent spot, or at least moving towards a decent spot in September, that's when we're going to make this video again and go, okay, man, this is it. The game's dead.
Yeah, overall, my last thing is that hold Bungie accountable when they make their faults. 100%. I put out a video recently. I want to clarify my biggest point from that video, because obviously it was definitely clickbait, and I could have clarified better what my intent was. Go after Bungie when they deserve to get hit. When they mess up, we should definitely be right there to call it out. But what we need to do is make sure that we're always giving the right feedback and allowing the relationship between us and Bungie to stay the right way. Because at the end of the day, they don't have to do anything for us. They can easily just walk away, take the money, be like, whatever, don't care. But they clearly seem committed to making the game better, and we all have to be able to work together in that circle for the game to get to a spot where everybody's happy. I think that's all I got on that. Alright guys.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yep. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you like what you heard here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Obviously, me and Jessetiv both put videos out on the channel. Make sure you check them out. We also got Andrew, who is the owner. He puts out great content all the time. You can follow us on Twitter to keep up to date with what's going on. Other than that, this has been another episode of The Lion's Den, and we will see you guys next time.
Later.